Part 33. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Jeon. Chapter 321. Conference Room of the Public Security Bureau of F City. There are 5 directions for investigation now. Lin Xian looked at the team members in front of him. First, a white man with a birthmark on his neck more than 10 years ago. Second, a white unlicensed van. Third, the suspect Yang Zhen was attacked in the detention center, and someone wanted to kill him. Fourth, the man with glasses and the white man involved in the case must have been in F City at the time. This involves a problem of transporting corpses, and it is unrealistic to transport corpses over long distances. Fifth, and the most critical point. Lin Xian said in a deep voice, investigate all experimental institutions in F City that had experimental conditions more than 10 years ago, and check whether there are foreign personnel in these institutions, with the focus on white people. Action. Yes, the team members left quickly. Lin Xian got up, walked out of the conference room, and went to a small conference room. Knocked on the door and pushed it open. There were 3 people sitting in the small conference room, 2 deputy chief police inspectors and Lu Yan. Sit down. A deputy chief police inspector smiled. Lin Xian sat next to Lu Yan. How's the investigation going? Another deputy chief police inspector asked with a smile. The old man has cooperated with Lin Xian 3 times. Because of the relationship with the Mu family, everyone is very familiar. While speaking, the old man pushed the cigarette box on the table in front of the little guy. Lin Xian was not polite, opened the cigarette box and took out a cigarette. Lu Yan on the side picked up the lighter and lit a cigarette for Lin Xian. The two behaved very naturally. But seeing the eyes of the 2 deputy chief police inspectors, there was some emotion. When Lin Xian first came to the Ministry of Public Security, he was still a young policeman. In just half a year, he has not only become a deputy director, but also a police king. Even the deputy director has to light a cigarette for him. This growth rate is too scary. It also broke too many rules in the past. They know better. Lin Xian is not only a public security policeman, but also a major in the army, god of war. Every time I see him, I have a strange feeling. Because no one can see clearly where he will go in the future. Police, military, or politics. No matter which path he takes, Lin Xian has the possibility of entering the upper echelons. Recalling what they were doing when they were 22 years old? They can't be compared, and they can't be compared. Compared with Lin Xian, they always have the illusion of living in a dog's stomach. Facing the old man's question, Lin Xian did not hide it. He reported on the work, emphasizing that foreigners may be involved. Everyone present was not a fool. His expression changed instantly, and he thought of many possibilities. Of course, he was still shocked by Lin Xian's suspected involvement in human experiments. If it is confirmed that foreigners are involved, I may arrest them directly, and I am worried that there will be some accidents in the process. Lin Xian explained his purpose, come and apply for permission. Everyone's face changed again, and they were a little worried. What, their knees haven't stood up yet? Not really. Because they moved foreigners in the territory of Longguo. Without real evidence, it is easy to cause international disputes and influence. Not only Longguo. Any country that moves against foreigners is very afraid. For example, a few years ago, a couple from Longguo traveled to the United States and encountered violent law enforcement by the police of the United States. In the end, the couple was compensated with $8.5 million. There were 2 police officers involved in the case, one was sentenced to 7 years and the other was sentenced to 15 years. It is the same in Longguo. If you do something to foreigners without evidence, if there are some bad behaviors, it may lead to serious consequences. Hearing that Lin Xian wants this kind of authority, who dares to give it to the leader? How irritable is this little guy, and how many lives are in his hands? Are the leaders of the Ministry of Public Security not clear? The two deputy chief police inspectors looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Dare to give it? After a little hesitation, the old man sighed, okay. If something happens, he will take it? Lin Xian looked at the old man in surprise and nodded. Without hesitation, he stood up and saluted, turned around and left. The three people present looked at Lin Xian's back with complicated expressions. Are you not afraid of losing your integrity in your later years? Another deputy chief police inspector asked with a smile. That little guy once said something to me. The old man sighed, in life, all you need is peace of mind. Lu Yan and the deputy chief police inspector were shocked. Just peace of mind? How many people in this world can do that now? Think about what Lin Xian did in the past. They laughed again. Others may not be able to do it, but Lin Xian can. This young man is not only fearless, but sometimes he is also disrespectful. When he gets reckless, he dares to kill anyone. Only such people can truly just seek peace of mind. Only dare to turn the world upside down. Walk out of the F-City Public Security Bureau. Lin Xian got into a police car. Guo Su was leaning on the driver's seat smoking. How many have you arrested? Lin Xian, who was sitting in the passenger seat, asked. He was asking about the kidnapping gang. A few dozen. Guo Su was a little tired. He led the armed police to arrest people in Ji province for a day and a half. The suspects of the kidnapping gang were basically all arrested. The case can basically be closed. Don't let them die easily. Lin Xian leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes to rest. Don't worry, I have already told them. Guo Su's face showed a trace of ferocity. Thinking back to those children and women who were abused and hurt. He also had an impulse to cut those traffickers into pieces. But right now, it was not about studying how to deal with those traffickers. The focus was still on the mummy case in front of him. Half a day passed in a blink of an eye. Wang Meng called. Boss, we found some clues and locked a foreigner. Lin Xian was instantly alert. Arrived at the F-City Exit and Entry Administration, the archives room as soon as possible. When Lin Xian arrived, Zhan Xiaoyang was sitting in front of a computer, and Wang Meng was standing beside him. There was a document on the monitor. First was a white ID photo. Lin Xian's eyes fell on the neck of the white man. Found a black and red birthmark on the left side of the neck. It was basically the same as the description in the confession of the suspect Yang Zhen. The sight moved. When he looked at the document and glanced at it, Lin Xian was stunned. Suspect, Makiali Lister, 39 years old, time of death, nationality of John Bull, Professor, Vice President of the Royal College of Life Sciences of John Bull, specializes in research in biology, human potential, innovative gene editing technology, etc. He has conducted the world's first clinical study on human potential development and editing, and cured many patients with human potential defects. He was the first in the world to develop human potential stimulation drugs, and completed the research on the function and mechanism of potential stimulation in experimental animals, etc. Note, Makiali Lister died in an experimental accident 11 years ago. Dead. Lin Xian came back to his senses. I still remember that the suspect Yang Zhen said that 11 years ago was the year he was imprisoned. Yang Zhen also said that the man with glasses and the white man suddenly stopped sending him corpses. It was as if they disappeared. Could it be because of this experimental accident? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 322. According to the investigation file of the laboratory explosion that year, all members of the scientific research team were killed in the accident, and no one survived. The entire floor was also damaged in the explosion, and a total of 19 people died. Wang Meng pointed to the investigation report. When the fire alarm put out the fire in the laboratory, there were almost no clues. Lin Xian had a sullen face. Why are there no clues after putting out the fire? There is an old saying, fire and water have no mercy. This refers to the extremely destructive nature of water and fire. First, the explosion and fire will destroy something. After encountering the impact of high-pressure water cannon from the fire alarm, not only will it extinguish the fire, but it will also wash away all the remaining clues. For those engaged in criminal investigation, the most troublesome thing is to encounter cases involving water and fire. There was too much damage on site. It's so big that it's basically impossible to find it. But Lin Xian observed the investigation file on the monitor, carefully considering and chewing on the words word for word. Then use your brain to think, analyze, and reason logically. Reached a conclusion. Silence. The suspect Yang Zhen confessed that the man with glasses and the white man inexplicably did not appear at that time. Then something happened to him. He entered the detention center and met a prisoner who wanted to kill him. Lin Xian also wondered if someone wanted to silence Yang Zhen. If this reasoning holds true, so is it possible that men with glasses and white people will also be silenced? In the case of, it wasn't just the two of them who were silenced. Instead, silence the entire scientific research team. As for why we do this, what on earth are they studying? Lin Xian muttered to himself. Check it, I guess it won't be found. If it is silence, the things the other party studied must have been destroyed, leaving no clues. But check who invested in the laboratory and gave them our /U0026D funds. Lin Xian ordered. Assuming that this scientific research project does use human experiments, it is necessary to conduct research even if it involves committing crimes and killing people. It must be the benefits are huge. Investment can also be quite scary. Money is not conjured out of thin air. Who gave the money to the lab? 10 minutes later, Zhang Xiaoyang put down the computer keyboard and looked at Lin Xian, a certain pharmaceutical group company. The company is a joint venture, mainly engaged in Chinese and Western medicines, medical devices, biomedicine, medical services, etc. In 2016, Fortune ranked 568th globally. It's just a little short of being on the list of the world's top 500 companies. Annual turnover, US $21.3 billion. Registered capital, 1.05281 million. Date of establishment, August 7, 1994. Chairman, Wang Chuiyuan. The heads of Lin Xian and others suddenly grew bigger. Because the other party is the Big Mac in Dragon Kingdom's domestic pharmaceutical industry and is infinitely close to leading domestic pharmaceutical companies. Everyone looked at Lin Xian. Watch what I do. Lin Xian's face was expressionless. Check. What a pharmaceutical leader, what a bullshit giant in the pharmaceutical industry. It won't work for anyone who comes now. If you find that the other party is suspected of being involved in this case, investigate to the end. The other party's head office is in Province G. It is also the second largest enterprise group in G Province. When the Special Criminal Case Task Force had just investigated the company and came to investigate the details of an accident laboratory it invested more than 10 years ago, a call came to Lin Xian's mobile phone. The number was very unfamiliar. Who? Lin Xian answered. Hello, are you Comrade Lin Xian? There was something wrong with the tone of the other person's words. With a conceited attitude that makes people feel that he is superior. Lin Xian frowned. Who are you? Well. The other party was silent for a while and said in a cold and arrogant tone, I am the administrative secretary of the Secretary of Province G. Woohoo, Lin Xian smiled coldly. Someone from the first brother in Province G? What's your surname? Lin Xian's tone was calm. The surname is Wu. The other party still said in that very uncomfortable tone, I heard that you are investigating a certain pharmaceutical group. Yes. Lin Xian's eyes turned cold. What instructions does the leader have? Instructions: don't dare. The other party said in a half-smiling tone, however, as this pharmaceutical group is the second largest enterprise group in our province and the leading pharmaceutical company in our province, I hope you hope to. Lin Xian interrupted the other party, I just want to ask you one thing. In what capacity are you calling me now? Is it you or the person standing behind you? The other party was silent for a long time. It's my personal opinion. Understood. Lin Xian sneered, as the leader of the Ministry of Public Security's Special Criminal Case Task Force, I am summoning you verbally to come to the F-City Public Security Bureau to see me within 5 hours. If you dare not show up, you will be responsible for the consequences. After that, hang up the phone. Go and ask the master behind you if he dares to jump out now. Do you dare to talk to me like this? Just a dog. You actually dare to take charge of your own affairs? More than 4 hours later, a commercial vehicle appeared at City F's Municipal Bureau at a fast speed. A bespectacled man in his 30s appeared in front of Lin Xian. At this time, there was no arrogance or condescension in his body, nor did he have an uncomfortable tone. He looked at Lin Xian with a smile, I'm sorry, maybe there is a misunderstanding between us. Do you deserve to have a misunderstanding with me? Lin Xian looked directly at the other person, looking at his pale face, tell me, who asked you to call me? The man with glasses was silent. It is said that you should look at the owner when beating a dog. Lin Xian said coldly, I will give you a chance now, and you can speak out on your own initiative. Otherwise, even your master can't save you, do you understand? After saying this, 2 deputy chief police inspectors in white shirts stood behind Lin Xian, both with smiles on their faces. But there was no smile in their eyes, and they looked at the man with glasses with a cold and piercing gaze. The boss of G province, is he so big? The man with glasses gradually turned pale, and sweat broke out on his forehead. He knew that he had made a rash call this time. He was in trouble, and it was a big trouble. It seemed that even his big boss couldn't save him. There was no hesitation, and no fluke. He honestly said a name. Vice President of a pharmaceutical group. Give your boss a good word for me, and also say something. Lin Xian looked at the panicked man with glasses, tell him to come to Beijing when he has time. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the 2 deputy chief police inspectors changed drastically, and their hearts beat wildly uncontrollably. They had the urge to turn around and leave. Scared. The man with glasses left. Dare not say anything. But an hour later, Lin Xian received an unexpected call. It was a call from his future father-in-law, Mu Wentao. There was only one sentence, the old man asked me to tell you, it's almost done. Lin Xian put down his phone and sneered. After killing the chicken and scaring the monkey, I just want to ask you who else dares to jump out. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 323. A business building, underground parking lot. An old man in a suit stepped out of the elevator with a steady and strong gait. Every step seemed so leisurely. He was accompanied by a driver, a secretary, and a bodyguard. A group of 4 people walked towards a Rolls-Royce car. The driver and bodyguard got on the car in front, the secretary opened the door, and the old man got in. When the secretary got into the car and was about to close the door, the other door was opened. A handsome young man stood outside the car. Gao Xinmin. Lin Xian smiled and looked at the old man. Police, there is a case that requires your cooperation in the investigation. The expressions of the driver, bodyguard, and secretary all changed. The old man looked calm, looked at Lin Xian curiously, and asked with a smile, "Officer, are you kidding? Do you think I'm kidding?" Lin Xian was also laughing. "A secretary Wu called me not long ago, but he is no longer a secretary. Aren't you curious where he went?" The smile on the old man's face froze instantly, and he stared blankly at the young man in front of him. The expression seemed to be that he had seen some strange creature, with a look of disbelief. "While I'm treating you like a human being, you'd better treat me like a human being." Lin Xian's smile remained unchanged. "If I treat you like a dog and can only beat you to death with a stick, do you understand what I mean?" Gao Xinmin's expression suddenly changed. He was angry, fearful, and unbelievable. Finally, his expression turned calm again. He waved his hand. The driver, bodyguard, secretary, the three got out of the car and left. Gao Xinmin also got out of the car and stood in front of Lin Xian. "What do you want to ask? Are you pretending to be confused with me?" Lin Xian stared into his eyes. "I really don't know why I came to you." Gao Xinmin was silent. "How could you not know? Why did he contact Secretary Wu?" He had no clue. After a moment of silence, Gao Xinmin said solemnly, "I just heard from the people below that there are police officers investigating the company. I thought they were ordinary police officers and wanted to send them away. I don't know what is involved. In fact, we can make companies bigger and stronger. If you look it up casually, you can find problems, big and small. They definitely don't want to be investigated by others. Many people know this. Don't ask the state why it doesn't move them. You have to be aware that a large company has collapsed. This means thousands of jobs have been lost. This means that tens of millions of people will be unemployed. Therefore, the state will not touch them unless absolutely necessary. This is not protecting them. It is ensuring that some people can have jobs and food on the table. Otherwise, those enterprises are just ants in the eyes of the country. Is 2 horses and 1 king awesome? Just stick out a finger and you can kill him." Gao Xinmin discovered that he was now an ant. The handsome young man in front of him looked like a terrifying dragon. The secretary of provincial first brother said he should be put to death. Is there anything more terrifying than this? I don't want to know about that little shit in your company. Lin Xian looked directly at the other person. "I just ask you, there was an accident in a laboratory you invested in more than 10 years ago, and everyone in the scientific research team died. Do you know about this?" Gao Xinmin was stunned for a moment, recalling. He quickly remembered this and nodded. "I still remember that at that time, the board of directors discussed developing a new drug and hired experts from some domestic industries. By the way, they also hired a very powerful expert from abroad. Formed a team to develop this new drug, and invested 500 million, but, something happened." Lin Xian stared at the old man's eyes, expression, and heartbeat. No problem. This old man should not be involved in the case. And through the other person's words, the research project of that scientific research team does not seem to be a secret within the pharmaceutical group. Of course, this is talking about the investment projects and research and development of pharmaceutical groups. As for what this scientific research team was studying internally, the old man in front of him seemed unclear. Therefore, this old man should not be aware of the matters of human experimentation and silencing. Could it be said that this case has nothing to do with the pharmaceutical group? Lin Xian thought for a moment, who was in charge of the R/U0026D team back then? This. Gao Xinmin recalled. It seems that the chairman was personally responsible, and it was also his secretary who took over the laboratory. After all, this new drug is very important to us and can bring great benefits to the company. Pay close attention. Chairman? Secretary? Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. Apart from them, no one else participated. Gao Xinmin nodded, maybe, but I don't know very well. I was just a director at the beginning. Thank you for your cooperation. Lin Xian turned and left. Gao Xinmin was shocked and looked at the other party's back. Doubtful, and vaguely feeling that something is going to happen. There is also an ominous premonition. Something might happen to the group company. Lin Xian walked towards the elevator in the parking lot. While walking, analyze the case. Prepare to ask your subordinates to check the chairman and secretary for a while. His criminal investigation experience told him that there should be something wrong with these two people. The elevator door opened. Lin Xian walked in. Just as the elevator door is about to close. Sudden. A hand reached into the gap in the door, preventing the elevator from closing. Lin Xian's eyes slowly narrowed. Looking at the woman's hand, I also saw the woman outside after opening the door. Exactly. They are a couple in their 20s. Sorry, we are in a hurry. The man smiled broadly and nodded to Lin Xian. The woman held the man's arm intimately and smiled at Lin Xian. The couple turned around together, looking nothing special. Lin Xian raised his lips. I feel too, murderous auras. Why would anyone want to kill him? And why would anyone know that he came to see Gao Xinmin? Are you still waiting for him in this parking lot? This person is very powerful. He should have known that he killed brother Shen Yi's secretary, right? Did you also guess that he would follow the lead of the secretary of the first provincial brother and come to Gao Xinmin? So prepare people in advance, wait for him to come, and then carry out the assassination? What is the purpose? Stop the police from continuing their investigation. Just like Lin Xian inferred. The entire scientific research team was silenced. At the same time, Yang Zhen, who handled the body, must be silenced. And now, they even want to silence the police. What a courageous person, Lin Xian laughed silently. In an instant, a stream of light flashed and pierced his neck. At the same time, there was also a stream of light stabbing his waist horizontally. When Lin Xian saw the two weapons clearly, his expression changed. Those are two three-edged thorns. It is also the Type 56 military-edged bayonet of the Dragon Kingdom. It has 35 years of service history in the Dragon Kingdom. However, because it was too bloody and cruel, its use was banned internationally and has long since been eliminated. Lin Xian never thought of it. One day I would be lucky enough to see such an antique and vicious weapon. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qixiong. Chapter 324. The flow of the world suddenly became stuck and slow. Of course, this was only within Lin Xian's visual space. When the two triangular bayonets moved like turtles in his eyes, Lin Xian stretched out his hands. Crack. Twist off the wrists holding the two triangular bayonets. At the same time, grab the two fallen triangular bayonets. Swing his arm. Crack. A bayonet pierced the man's temple and popped out from the other temple. Let go and swing. Hold the woman and lift her up. Press on the front wall of the elevator. Crack. Another triangular bayonet pierced the woman's shoulder socket. Nailed her to the elevator wall. Ah! The woman screamed and moved her limbs. She could only be nailed there in vain and could not break free. The elevator door opened. Lin Xian kicked the man's body and blocked the door. Turned his head and looked at the woman nailed to the wall. Who asked you to kill me? The woman kept silent. Suddenly, boom, there was a roar from the back of the woman's head. And her head seemed to be hit by a sledgehammer. It drooped down. Lin Xian looked ugly, grabbed the woman's head, looked at the back of her head, and his pupils shrank. The back of the woman's head was blown open, the size of a fist, and red and white liquid flowed out. Suddenly, there was another roar, and a blood hole was blown out on the back of the man's head. An old wanted criminal, Lin Xian complained in his heart. 10 minutes later, the team members came and Lu Changjiang began to perform an autopsy. Through the wound, it can be found that the back of the body's head was blown open by explosives. Usually this explosive will be attached to the back of the head and hidden by the hair. Someone is remotely controlling it. It's not the three-edged bayonet of Longguo, it's a high imitation bayonet. Guo Su observed the bayonet handle on the shoulder of the female corpse, and said solemnly, "It comes from abroad, a certain Asian army." The three-edged military bayonet has long been banned internationally because it is too cruel. However, it does not mean that some countries will not use it secretly. For example, the soldiers of a certain country. Mountain country. It is located in the inland of South Asia, on the southern foot of the Himalayas. The economy of this country is not developed, and it is one of the poorest countries in the world. However, there is a place in this country that is quite famous. Gurkha. The reason why it is famous is that it was once known to have the top mercenaries in South Asia, and it is also one of the world-famous foreign mercenary groups. They have two kinds of sabers. One is called the Gurkha scimitar. The other is the three-edged bayonet. Because they are mercenaries, they don't care about the so-called international ban at all. Until now, Gurkha mercenaries are still using this bayonet. Lu Changjiang lifted the palm of the man's body and observed it, and found gun calluses. Then he took off the man's clothes. Some traces of years of training were found. As for the woman, there were also gun calluses on both hands. Everyone's heart was cold. It is likely that the identities of these men and women have been guessed. Mercenaries. As mentioned above, mercenaries are not just about fighting. As long as you pay them, they will do anything. Assassination, kidnapping, extortion, blackmail, it's not as high-end as people imagine. As long as the money is in place, they will do anything. Not to mention playing a cameo as a killer. Through the other party's speed of action. It is not difficult to find. These two men and women who are suspected to be mercenaries have long been hiding in Longguo. It is also possible that there are more people like them hiding in Longguo. Is there anyone raising mercenaries in Longguo? Lin Xian laughed angrily. Think about it, it seems to be nothing wrong. Many people think that the mercenary profession is very profitable, but they have read too many novels. The real income of mercenaries is only about 5,000–20,000 per month. The reason for such a large span? Because when there is a task, the monthly income of mercenaries will be more. When there is no task, it is good to have 5,000 yuan. Some mercenary teams have no money when there is no task. This price seems very high. But for some rich people, it's a drop in the bucket. Just keep dozens of mercenaries as bodyguards and do dirty work. Isn't it just like playing? And mercenaries also want to work for such big bosses. There is little danger, low mortality rate, and high salary. There are many people willing to do it. We should have stepped on the cat's tail. Lin Xian looked at the two bodies in front of him. Some people are anxious. Everyone sneered and nodded. They can also see that the other party even sent out the killer just to stop the police from continuing the investigation. It means that they are not far from the truth. Lin Xian gave an order. Started to investigate the chairman of a pharmaceutical group and his secretary. As a result, the secretary of the chairman disappeared. And the chairman is now abroad. The Special Criminal Case Task Force checked the time when the chairman went abroad. 3 days ago. They also checked the time when the secretary disappeared, which was also 3 days ago. How can there be such a coincidence in the world? Ask the National Security Bureau to help find the person who ran away abroad. Lin Xian looked at Li Long. Li Long nodded and took out his cell phone. Lin Xian looked at Wang Meng again. Find this secretary. Yes, Wang Meng led his people away. Only Lin Xian, Lu Changjiang, and Zhan Xiaoyang were left at the scene. The police who arrived after hearing the news began to deal with the scene. Boss. Lu Changjiang stood beside Lin Xian and said, "When I was doing the autopsy on those mummies yesterday, I found something strange." Lin Xian looked at his subordinate, waiting for his next words. "Those bodies are very wrong." Lu Changjiang's expression was solemn. "I always feel that something is missing from their bodies, but because they are all in the state of mummies, I can't find it. I suspect that it may not be human experiments, but someone has done something to these dead people." "Are you sure?" Lin Xian's scalp was numb. "Things in the human body?" The autopsy showed that everything was missing from the dead body, and all the organs were there. Muscles, bones, and even hair were not missing. What else could be missing? "I don't know either." Lu Changjiang shook his head, "But I always feel that the drugs and chemicals used by those people on these corpses have no benefits except to make the human body secrete hormones and accelerate death. Why would someone want to do such an experiment?" "Wait, accelerate secretion." Lin Xian's pupils contracted, and his mind was wide open. Is it possible that something else is secreted, and someone is extracting something from the human body? The reason he asked this was because he thought of a horror movie. In that horror movie, there was an evil scientist. Using an instrument and a drug, a certain cell of the human body is extracted. Then, transplanted into your own body, hoping to gain immortality. Do you think this horror movie is a joke? What if I tell you that the immortal cells in this horror movie, in reality, they have already existed? Will you be shocked? Her name is HeLa cells. The only immortal cell in human beings. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qixiun Zhong. Chapter 325. Detention Center. An old man was escorted into the interrogation room by prison guards. It was the suspect Yang Zhen. When he saw Lin Xian, the old man looked horrified. At this time, his severed hand was still splinted, and it was in excruciating pain. "Let me ask you a question," Lin Xian asked coldly. "When the man with glasses and the white man sent the body to you for you to handle, did you find anything wrong with the body?" "Something wrong?" Yang Zhen was surprised. "The bodies are all about the same." "What's wrong?" His words suddenly stalled and he froze in place. Talk about a profession that understands corpses. The first is forensics, followed by doctors and police. The third one is the cremation workshop worker. Because this profession deals with corpses every day. At its peak, dozens of bodies may be cremated every day. I have some understanding of the changes in corpses. Seeing Yang Zhen stunned, Lin Xian and Lu Changjiang looked at each other. They came here this time to ask Yang Zhen about the corpse before it was mummified. Whether there have been any changes to determine whether the corpses have been tampered with. For example, someone extracted something. The change in Yang Zhen's expression showed that he had discovered something. I remembered. Yang Zhen came back to his senses and said uncertainly, "Those corpses seem to have just died. Although there were spots on the corpses, the colors of the spots were wrong." "What's wrong?" Lu Changjiang's eyes were bright and he asked quickly. "It's like poisoning," Yang Zhen continued, "because the spots on those corpses are cherry red. Cherry red color is usually caused by gas or cyanide poisoning. Or the color of body spots that only appear after death under certain circumstances." "Wrong." Lu Changjiang was stunned. "There are no toxins in the body of the deceased. I personally performed the autopsy and examined dozens of bodies. It is absolutely impossible to be, His expression suddenly froze, and his mouth opened as if petrified. After a long time, Lu Changjiang said a few words, "Human amino acids." "Lin Xian, can you speak human language? It is the basic unit of biologically functional macromolecule proteins. Lu Changjiang's face turned ugly. Taurine, for example, exists in the human body and many animals. It maintains cardiovascular health, retinal protection, liver protection, neurological function support, and has many benefits for the human body. Lin Xian understood. For example, the Red Bull he drank seemed to have this stuff in it. Someone extracted some special protein from those dead people. Lu Changjiang's expression changed. A large amount of protein deficiency in the human body can also cause body spots to appear bright red. Generally speaking, protein accounts for about 18% of the total mass of the human body and is related to life phenomena. It is an important component of all cell tissues in the human body. In other words, human protein can sometimes be compared to a person's life. What is the special protein you are talking about? Lin Xian's face also turned ugly. It could be those people's lives. Lu Changjiang said quickly, maybe someone is using special means, using pharmaceuticals and chemicals to extract this kind of life from these people, causing the corpses to lose a large amount of special proteins, and the corpse spots will appear bright red. What is the use? As soon as he asked this question, Lin Xian wanted to slap himself. As mentioned before, such as taurine. Ingestion of taurine by humans has various benefits for the human body. Another example. Can taurine be extracted from the human body? And then, use it on other people? This metaphor is like someone extracting some human life. Then use it on others. Is it feasible? Lin Xian thought of a folk rumor. It is said. The head of the Li family, the richest man in Xiangjiang, once found an anti-aging medicine. Just one pill costs 1.56 million. I don't know if it's true or not. No one knows what kind of drug it is. But there is no smoke without fire. Moreover, it was Mr. Li's 96th birthday. He still walks quickly and does not need help from others. There are countless wealthy people around the world who are secretly researching anti-aging, life-extending and other drugs. It's no secret. So is it possible that in this case, someone is also researching this drug? Moreover, something was extracted from the body of a living person. To make this drug. Lin Xian didn't dare to think about it. Because in the ancient times of the Dragon Kingdom, some people did use living people to make elixirs. Use this to extend your life. Sudden. Lin Xian's cell phone rang. Boss, the secretary has been found. Wang Meng's voice was a little low, the person is dead. 40 minutes later. City G, inside a commercial vehicle in an underground parking lot. At this time, the car door had been opened, and the smell of corpses came from inside. The corpse of a highly corrupted titan was lying inside. It can be seen that the soft tissues of the corpse are filled with putrefactive gases, the face is swollen, the eyes are protruding, and the lips are enlarged and turned out. The entire corpse swelled to the size of a giant, making it difficult to recognize its appearance in life. The time of death was about 3 days. Lu Changjiang stared at the corpse. It should be that after the murder, someone deliberately turned on the air conditioner in the car to heat the body to accelerate the decomposition of the body. The purpose was to prevent people from identifying the body. I have seen this method before. Fortunately, the body was found early. Otherwise, it might be difficult to identify it in a few days. An on-site autopsy later confirmed that Lu Changjiang had committed suicide. Weapon, triangular army thorn. The wound was in the abdomen. Use the three-edged military thorn to pierce, stab diagonally, and pierce the heart. The killing method was quite professional and no footprints or fingerprints were left at the scene. It can be seen that this is not the first time to kill like this. After confirming that the murder weapon was a three-edged military stab, everyone looked solemn. As they inferred earlier, there should be a group of mercenaries hiding in G City who specialize in dirty work for certain people. The exact number of people is unknown. Lin Xian looked around and ordered in a cold voice, "Find him." Yes. The team members surveyed the scene and conducted investigations. Start with the ground first. Aren't there no footprints? It wasn't, but there were traces of it being cleaned. It should be one person holding a broom, sweeping back while sweeping. This is used to cover up footprints and traces. Soon, everyone came to a parking space in the parking lot. The broom mark disappears here. It shows that someone got into a car and drove away. There are no cameras in the parking space, so it is a blind spot for surveillance. But it doesn't matter. The suspect vehicle could be located by other vehicles. Because there is something called a driving recorder. Then monitor the vehicles parked in other parking spaces to identify suspect vehicles. Anyone who owns a car knows that a driving recorder can save recordings for about 3-7 days. And most of them have parking monitoring functions. 4 hours later, the suspect vehicle is found and the pursuit begins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 326. 4.5 hours later. In a commercial police car driving at high speed. The other party is very cunning and has strong anti-reconnaissance capabilities. The vehicle is stolen, but through the Skynet surveillance and civilian surveillance, there are 2 perpetrators in total. The 2 suspects are locked into a shanty town. Wang Meng reported, after visiting, we locked a 3-story old building. Local residents claimed that a group of outsiders came here more than 10 years ago. They don't speak Mandarin very well. They say they are Jacehan people from the mountains. Their appearance is also obviously different from the locals. Lin Xian, who closed his eyes and rested, listened to his subordinates' reports and analyzed his brain. Jacehan people are Gurkha mercenaries. Of course, there are Jacehan people in many areas of Longguo. According to statistics, there are tens of thousands of them, scattered in various provinces across the country. Of course, it doesn't matter who the other party is. Arrest first, then distinguish. Lin Xian has no time to wait for the special police and armed police to go out, and is ready to take action directly. No matter how many people and what strength the other party has, he and Guo Su are enough. Even if the other party is a mercenary, there is nothing to worry about. A war god plus a soldier king, this is not a cannon, it is a nuclear bomb. Use a nuclear bomb to hit a group of small mosquitoes. Crush the game. Midnight, everything is silent. G City, outside a shanty town. Everyone got off the police car. Guo Su was fully armed, carrying a sniper rifle. Like a beast running in the dark, heading to a high point. About 5 minutes. Boss, okay. Guo Su's words came from the Bluetooth headset on his ear. Lin Xian took a pistol and 2 magazines handed over by Wang Meng. Plus his own gun, it is enough. With his gun skills, and Guo Su's long-range sniping. Don't talk about mercenaries. Even a team of combat soldiers can face it head-on. Lin Xian doesn't have to go it alone like in the past. It's great to have brothers to help. Walk into the street of the shanty town. Step by step towards a 3-story building somewhere. As he approached, Lin Xian's footsteps were silent. Until he stood outside the small building. Suddenly, Lin Xian looked at the top of the wall of the courtyard, and a monitor turned and pointed at him. Infrared night vision camera? Exposed, Lin Xian clearly sensed 2 murderous intentions in the small building. A few seconds later, more murderous intentions appeared. 1, 2, 3. 7 murderous intentions. Lin Xian was not worried, but smiled. He found the right one. Through those murderous intentions that were neither strong nor weak, it was likely that they were mercenaries or assassins. Then he had to consider how many people he could leave alive, and what means he needed to use to stop these mercenaries from committing suicide. He still remembered that the two suspected mercenary assassins who assassinated him in the parking lot had explosives on their backs. Killed by remote control. Lin Xian couldn't be sure now whether the person who controlled the explosives was among these people. If he wasn't there, he had to be prepared to remove the explosives on the backs of these people's heads. Otherwise, there might not be a single person left alive. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian slowly half-crouched. Suddenly, he shot up like a leopard. He jumped over the wall and entered the yard, moving his legs and running. Because of his fast speed, he flashed like a ghost and appeared in front of the door of the small building. Boom! Lin Xian's strong body hit the wooden door like a raging monster. Amid the explosion and splash of wood chips on the door panel, he appeared in the entrance of the small building. He stretched out his arms and grabbed two necks on the left and right. Before the other party could react, he closed his hands in the middle. Bang! The two heads hit each other. The two figures collapsed instantly, but in the process of falling, Lin Xian's hands had already landed on the back of their heads. He quickly grabbed two things and threw them out. By feeling, they were two pieces of metal, as big as a matchbox. I think they are the explosives that can be remotely controlled from a distance. Two survivors. With a sigh of relief, Lin Xian's figure shot up. His body turned in the air. Bang! A pair of thighs stomped on the ceiling, half squatting. Bang! 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 Gunshots rang out. Bullets flew in the air, shooting towards the door where he had just been. These people reacted too slowly, Lin Xian sighed, even feeling bored. In the past, he was used to fighting with soldiers, but now he was fighting with a group of rookies. It felt like a punch hitting tofu. You just need to wave your hand, and the tofu will explode. This is not to say that he is too strong, but that the opponent is too weak. Bang! Lin Xian stomped on the ceiling with his feet. It was like a cannonball appeared in the living room, appearing in front of two men holding pistols and firing. Click! The necks of the two men were cut off by Lin Xian. Even pulling out a gun and shooting felt like a waste of bullets. 4 people were dealt with. Lin Xian's figure did not stop, and appeared in front of the stairs. Rushed to the second floor. Also saw a man holding a pistol. However, the man's arm moved too slowly, and while aiming at Lin Xian had already walked past him. Crack! The man's neck was broken and drooped behind him. Using his super hearing, he confirmed that there was no heartbeat or breathing on the second floor. Lin Xian went directly to the third floor. Hearing 2 breaths and 2 heartbeats. He also saw a woman, huddled in a corner and shivering. If it were a normal person, his eyes would be attracted to this woman immediately. The same is true for Lin Xian. But when he looked at the woman, a black light appeared behind him. A 3-edged military thorn stabbed at the back of his head in the darkness. Good cooperation, don't be so cooperative next time. Lin Xian didn't look back. Just grab the arm back. Click. The palm holding the military thorn was broken. Lin Xian held the opponent's hand, reversed the military thorn, and pushed back. Puff. A military spike penetrated a man's eye and emerged from the back of his head. From beginning to end, Lin Xian's eyes were always looking at the woman. It was also at the same time that the man behind him took action. The woman quickly raised her hand, holding a small pistol. Prepare to aim at Lin Xian with a pistol. Result. Lin Xian took a step and appeared in front of her. Bang! Stepped on the opponent's face. The back of the woman's head hit the wall behind her. He collapsed on the ground like mud. Lin Xian listened carefully and confirmed that there were no suspicious sounds in the entire 3-story building. Call it a day. Lin Xian was not excited at all during the whole process. Not even half of his abilities were used. A complete crushing. However, he quickly squatted down and groped the back of the woman's head. My eyes lit up and no explosives were found. Then he took out a remote control from the woman's pocket. Is she the leader of this group? Lin Xian looked at the unconscious woman in front of him with complicated eyes. In his past life and this life, he has experienced countless cases. Let him learn not to look down on any woman. Because women are sometimes more terrifying than men when they go crazy. But I never thought about it. A woman could actually become the leader of a team of mercenaries. How did you do it? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kiseun Zhong. Chapter 327. The living room of the small building. 4 bodies were placed side by side. 3 unconscious men and women were awakened by cold water. Lin Xian squatted in front of the woman. Who are you? The woman had already lost her color, her face was pale and bloodless. But her eyes were so cold, empty, and numb. It seemed that she had been prepared for a long time. She knew that she would be caught sooner or later. You also know what your end will be, right? Lin Xian raised his hand. Li Long handed over a bayonet. Say it out loud, or say it in pain, it makes no difference to me. Lin Xian stared into the woman's eyes. What do you want to choose? The woman's originally pale face seemed to be drained of all blood in an instant, and turned blue. After hesitating for a while, he sighed. I heard that there is a kind of criminal law in Longguo, called suspended death sentence. Puff. A bayonet pierced the woman's thigh. The woman opened her mouth and widened her eyes. The pain was heartbreaking. It was because it was too painful. She couldn't even breathe or shout. Don't negotiate with me, you don't deserve it. Lin Xian turned the bayonet. Do you understand? Ah. The woman couldn't bear it anymore and screamed, I understand. Who are you? Former Gurkha mercenaries. When did you enter Dragon Country? 12 years ago. Who is your protector? A big boss, a rich boss. We don't know who he is. Usually, his people contact us and assign us tasks. But, 3 days ago, we killed the person who often contacted us. It was the big boss's personal order. Murdering, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The secretary of the chairman is dead. The police have no evidence to do anything to the chairman. Is that right? Let the scapegoat take all the blame. Although this method is old-fashioned, it is very practical. However, the chairman did something even more extreme. To prevent accidents, he ran abroad directly. He is using some people to find out the news in China. Wait until the storm is over and return to China, or never come back. Good tricks, but it's a pity that they are useless. One last question. Lin Xian looked at the woman in front of him. Did you create an accident to kill the people in the laboratory? By the way, Yang Zhen, who was in the detention center that year, was also killed by you. Yes. The woman answered without hesitation. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The whole case has been straightened out. The only thing missing now is a principal offender. Of course, there is another key point. Confirm what the laboratory is researching. Outside the small building. Are you going abroad? The words of the Ministry of Public Security Kong Ding sounded from Lin Xian's mobile phone, with a solemn tone. The principal offender has escaped. Lin Xian said, the purpose of their killing is to extract something from the human body. We don't know what it is, so the person must be caught, or, I will go to see him, and the person doesn't need to be brought back. Why not bring him back? It's better to die abroad. It can also save trouble. But Lin Xian can't make the decision on this matter. The Ministry of Public Security's Kong Ding can't make the decision either. Wait for my call. The old man ended the call. 7 hours passed. The old man called Lin Xian and the first sentence he said was, "Treason." Lin Xian's head was big. This treason refers to the chairman of the pharmaceutical group who fled abroad. As for how to confirm it, the people above have a way. It is likely that foreign special forces were mobilized. There are some people around him who are secretly protecting him. The old man said in a heavy tone, "They are a group of top security personnel." What do the big bosses mean? Lin Xian was a little tired. It shouldn't work to go through the formal channels. The old man sighed, "Prepare to go abroad, the Special Operation Department will cooperate with you." Special Operation Department? Lin Xian's pupils shrank a few times. Why dispatch the Special Operation Department? Defend the country, understand the enemy, rescue comrades, and punish traitors. This is the work of the Special Operation Department. Since someone has committed treason, it is normal to dispatch the Special Operation Department to hunt him down. The Special Operation Department is not needed. Lin Xian refused, "It's more convenient for me to be alone." The old man was silent for a while. "Let's go to the airport." G City Airport, a special room. Lin Xian shook hands with two men in suits. The other party took out a set of passports, visas, luggage. The identity information and the photo on the ID card did not match Lin Xian's identity. But it doesn't matter. A middle-aged man began to make up Lin Xian. First clean the face, put on a silicone mask, and finally repair it. In less than an hour, Lin Xian's face changed, exactly the same as the person in the ID photo. Prepared these. Lin Xian boarded the plane and went to the Magic City Airport. Boarded the international flight. Target, John Bull Country. About 12 hours. London, Gatwick Airport. Lin Xian walked out of the airport and took a taxi. Go to a 5-star hotel. In the guest room, Lin Xian simply washed and rested for about 2 hours. Someone knocked on the door. After opening the door, a blonde girl stood outside. Lin Xian stared at the other person's blue eyes. Just cosmetic contact lenses. The girl smiled and spoke in Mandarin. Lin Xian smiled and stretched out his hand and hugged the other person. The two looked intimate, like a couple. Walked into the room. Closed the door and separated. It's quite amazing. Lin Xian looked at the girl in front of him. She is obviously a Chinese, but she can disguise herself as a foreigner. Skin, hair color, eye color, it's almost impossible to tell. Makeup. The girl chuckled, "Hurry up." Yeah, Lin Xian nodded. The woman began to teach Lin Xian English. That's right, teach English. Many people know English, but they don't know that there are more than 60 English accents. For example, there was a skit that once satirized the London accent. In fact, this is not a satire, John Bull really has a London accent. Just like in Dragon Country, there are countless dialects. The same is true abroad. 6 hours later. The girl looked at Lin Xian in front of her with a shocked face, it was so incredible. Have you ever seen someone learn a foreign language in just 6 hours? And he can speak the foreign language fluently? She saw it. What kind of monster is this? The girl's scalp tingled. If she knew that Lin Xian learned German in just 10 hours not long ago, she would probably be in a mess. Then, she spent another hour. She changed Lin Xian's face again. She took out her mobile phone and called up a map of London. She began to explain the streets and buildings. And the hiding place of the target person. At night, 1 o'clock. The girl was stunned and looked at Lin Xian opening the window of the guest room. You know, the guest room they were in was on the 6th floor of the hotel. And at this time, Lin Xian had no tools on him at all. Are you sure you really want to go out like this? I'll trouble you for the rest. Lin Xian, standing in front of the window, smiled at the girl. Jumped out. Girl, Omega. went to the window and looked out. All she could see was darkness and the night view of the city. She was stunned for a long time and said two words. Monster. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 328. A villa area in the suburbs of London. Even in the night, you can still feel the elegant environment. Each villa in it is beautifully designed, unique and elegant. It shows the traditional architectural style of John Bull country, far away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Lin Xian's eyes looked coldly at a villa not far away. I sensed the slightest hint of threat. There are humans in the world today who can threaten him. Apart from soldiers, there are only some special beings. Through investigation, it was discovered that the target was surrounded by some top security personnel. Like, John Bull Royal Guard. When the people above discovered this, they were also very surprised. The Royal Guards, the full name of the Royal Guards Division of the British Army. It is directly under the jurisdiction of the John Bull royal family and belongs to the Royal Guard. Many people have seen those Royal Guards on TV and online. All of them wore black bearskin hats and red military uniforms. At first glance, he looked terribly embarrassed, like a juggler. In fact, few people know that every member of the Royal Guard is an elite member of the John Bull Army. The entire Royal Guards division is like a special marine division. Every guard is worthy of a special soldier. A rather puzzling question arises. Why would John Bull's Royal Guards protect a Dragon King? 15 dangerous breaths. Lin Xian murmured, each one of them has the strength of a military king, a royal bodyguard. It doesn't matter what it is. He had to go back before dawn. After taking a look at the guardrail outside the villa area, Lin Xian jumped up, grabbed the top of the guardrail, and climbed over. It was like a raccoon cat when it landed, making no sound. Sneaking towards the villa where the target is. There are 2 guards patrolling outside a villa. There are 4 more guards hidden around the villa. There are also 2 guards patrolling the courtyard. With such protective power, it would be very difficult for anyone to sneak in secretly. Moreover, every 10 minutes, guards need to report their location. If there is a problem with any guard, the others are bound to know about it. But 10 minutes. Lin Xian, who was hiding in the dark, stared at the guards and said, "Time is enough." Enough for what? Wouldn't it be solved if all the guards were killed? Lin Xian sneaked away again and appeared next to the guards hiding around the villa. Those guards who clearly had the strength of the king of soldiers couldn't even find Lin Xian. 1, 2, 3, 4, kill them quietly. Then 2 guards outside the villa were also killed instantly by Lin Xian. Then he jumped into the courtyard and killed 2 guards again. In less than 5 minutes, 8 guards were dead. Lin Xian stood in front of the villa, ignoring the surveillance. Open the door and rush in instantly. Poof, 4 shots in 1 second. 4 subsonic bullets hit the foreheads of 4 guards in the hall. Use your super hearing to determine where other people are. Lin Xian rushed to a room on the first floor. Open the door and enter. It is not only a control room but also a lounge. 3 guards who were about to get up were shot instantly. 15 soldiers at the king level died like ants. Facing Lin Xian's assassination, they couldn't even resist. Don't talk about them. Back in the Juhua kingdom, Lin Xian killed soldiers as if he were killing dogs. Not to mention some soldiers. Lin Xian walked towards the second floor of the villa step by step. Standing in front of a master bedroom. There are 2 breaths in the room. By respiratory rate, one is young and the other is old. Lin Xian opened the door and walked into the master bedroom. The bedroom is very luxurious, with a man and a woman lying on the bed. The woman is very young and has a big yangma. The old man is about 55 years old and Asian. This is exactly what Lin Xian is looking for when he comes here this time. chairman of a certain pharmaceutical group, Wang Yuan. The two of them seemed to sense something on the bed. Wake up from your sleep. Puff. The woman was shot in the forehead. Wang Yuan was frightened and woke up, exclaimed and stood up. Hello. Lin Xian looked at the old man in front of him and said, finally I found you. Wang Yuan. His expression returned to calm, and his eyes were deep and bright. Who are you? Wang Yuan spoke coldly. You really can't guess, Lin Xian sneered. Wang Yuan's expression changed, and there was a hint of panic in his eyes. What are you going to do? Obviously, he had guessed something. This is bullshit. Lin Xian looked directly into his eyes. You think that if you escape abroad, others won't be able to do anything to you? Ah! Wang Yuan sneered, what can you do to me? Sudden. 4 transparent glass walls fell from the sky, covering the entire bed. Safe house. But the sneer on Wang Yuan's face turned into a dull look. Because Lin Xian was already standing in front of him. Stand inside the safe house? That's it? Lin Xian stood on the bed, looking down at the old man. What other tricks are there, huh? He suddenly leaned over. Looking directly at Wang Yuan's face coldly. He quickly reached out, grabbed the other person's cheek, and ripped off a mask. I almost laughed out of anger. No, it should be said that he was tricked. But that's right. A CEO of a company with assets worth hundreds of billions. How could it be so easy to kill such a person? At the same time, outside the villa, the roar of a helicopter was heard. Lin Xian heard a series of sudden braking sounds outside the villa. Cars, trucks, and countless footsteps in military boots. A trap, Lin Xian frowned. Suddenly, a monitor lit up on the wall of the bedroom. The screen on the monitor was a luxurious bedroom. An old man leaned on the bed and smiled coldly. What should I call you? This old man was Wang Yuan. How did you guess that someone would come to you? Lin Xian turned around and looked at the monitor. Puff. The person behind him was shot in the head by him. Wang Yuan frowned in the monitor and looked at the two bodies on the bed. Are you here to kill me? Yes. Lin Xian nodded. Since you betrayed your country, you must die. Not only you, but your whole family will die. Of course, the most damning thing about you is that you took human lives lightly. I'm very curious, what kind of scientific research experiments did you do, and what did you extract from those people's bodies? Do you know what humans are ultimately pursuing? Wang Yuan looked at Lin Xian coldly. Eternal life. Lin Xian. He suddenly felt that the style of the world seemed to be torn apart. Others are already in the style of the second ape. And you are still in the modern urban style. I always feel very stupid. Eternal life. Lin Xian smiled. Are you teasing me? Tease you? Wang Yuan's face was not smiling at all. Blood transfusion, pleasing, imprisoning girls to grab embryos. Do you know how crazy some people will become in order to prolong their lives? For example. Lin Xian asked with a smile, Your Majesty. He finally knew why Wang Yuan had royal guards around him. It's 2016 and that old lady is still alive. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 329. You know too much. A strange smile appeared on Wang Yuan's face, but it doesn't matter, you are going to die soon. With his words, a group of soldiers, armed with murderous intent, rushed into the bedroom. The guns were pointed at Lin Xian in the safe house. Outside, the entire villa has been surrounded. There are 2 armed helicopters in the sky. Not to mention people, even flies can't fly out. Ordinary people, or soldiers, even combat soldiers would be dead in this situation. Facing this scene, Lin Xian remained calm and collected, ignoring the soldiers. Look at that monitor. No, it's looking at the scene on the monitor. I saw, there was a window next to the big bed where Wang Chuiyuan was. Lin Xian's eyes flashed with luster, and he turned to look behind him. Found a coincidence. The environment where Wang Chuiyuan is located in the monitor. It was very similar to the bedroom where he was at this time. So you are also in the villa area, Lin Xian asked with a smile. Just in another villa. Very smart, but useless. Wang Chuiyuan sneered, you can't see me. At this time, a soldier took out a remote control and controlled the safe house. Sudden. The four glass walls of the safe house slowly rise. Countless soldiers stared at Lin Xian, looking at the rising glass wall, and pulled the trigger at any time. I just like your unruly look. Lin Xian still ignored the soldiers and looked at Wang Chuiyuan, wait for me, I will hum you right away. His words stunned Wang Chuiyuan. The next second his face changed drastically. Because under the monitor, he was also looking at Lin Xian in the safe house. But for a moment, Lin Xian disappeared from the monitor. Not disappear. When the glass wall rises about a foot high, Lin Xian rushed out. Like a sharp arrow that escaped from its string, it flew out from the gap under the glass wall and stuck to the floor. That kind of speed and that kind of sprint made all soldiers unable to even react. Lin Xian has appeared in front of the two soldiers. He reached out his hands and grabbed their weapons. Chug tug tug. Two assault rifles exploded. As Lin Xian waved his arms, bullets shot after bullet, bursting with blood on the face of each soldier. 2 seconds. 14 soldiers, also a special operations team, were all killed. The moment of ceasefire. When those bodies haven't fallen yet. Lin Xian dropped his rifle and took two self-defense pistols from the two soldiers with both hands. Drop the safety and slide with one hand. People have rushed out of the bedroom. Bang, 10 shots per second. Both guns fired simultaneously. Soldiers on guard in the corridor of the villa, and soldiers below the first floor of the villa. 10 people were shot to death with bloody holes in their faces. Bang, 8 shots per second. The last 8 unresponsive soldiers in the villa fell to the ground. In 5 seconds, 32 lives were ended. Lin Xian's expression was still so calm and he jumped off the second floor. Stand on the first floor and grab the 2 assault rifles from the 2 corpses. The gun was pointed at the main entrance of the villa. Chug tug tug. Both guns fired. A group of soldiers who were about to rush into the villa fell in pieces like wheat cut by a sickle. Until all the soldiers in the courtyard were slaughtered. 2 assault rifles also had their magazines emptied. Lin Xian walked to the door and picked up an assault rifle. Point your gun at the sky. At this time, there is an armed helicopter floating horizontally in the air. A machine gunner mounted a heavy machine gun and aimed it at the villa. However, the machine gunner was so frightened by the scene in the villa courtyard that he froze. Bang! The assault rifle in Lin Xian's hand made a dull roar. Not gunshots. Instead, the grenade launcher under the barrel roared. A high explosive grenade flew out and crashed into the armed helicopter. Boom! A terrifying explosion exploded inside the helicopter. Turning the inside of the helicopter into a terrifying fireball, it sprayed out. Many people have been fooled by movies and videos into thinking that grenades have little power. If I tell you, the most inferior grenade is more powerful than a grenade. And the lethality of some high explosive grenades can cover half a football field. Is this thing more powerful than a sniper rifle? I still remember a soldier from the Dragon Kingdom playing grenade sniper during training. Said this sentence, "You are as ridiculous as your bunker." An armed helicopter was blown up and crashed. It scared countless people out of their wits. At the moment when they were stunned, Lin Xian had already loaded the second grenade. Aiming at the second armed helicopter in the sky, he pulled the grenade launcher. Bang! The grenade flew out and hit the helicopter propeller shaft. Boom! The rotating propeller was blown away, the helicopter lost control and fell. Boom! Hit a villa. Fire, explode. A bunch of little trash also want to kill me. Lin Xian sneered and dropped the rifle. Are you worthy? After showing off, he quickly retreated. Take a pistol and 2 magazines from the body. His time is running out. There were so many John Bull soldiers killed in front of them, as well as 2 armed helicopters. You don't need to think about it to know that it won't be long before the soldiers of John Bull country will arrive. We need to find Wang Chuiyuan's location quickly. With a bang, Lin Xian rushed out of the villa and climbed over the wall. Bang, 5 shots in 1 second. 5 soldiers were shot outside the courtyard, and Lin Xian also stood in front of the 6th soldier. His thigh was like a battle axe, chopping on the opponent's neck. Crack, kicked off. No longer in danger, Lin Xian ran up. Not escaping, but running in the villa area. Running past the villas. How to determine which mobile villa Wang Chuiyuan is in at this time? Sense. There must be guards around Wang Chuiyuan. Those guards should be very strong. As long as you sense which villa will pose a threat to him. There are some dangerous people hiding. Isn't this the answer? 2 minutes. Lin Xian suddenly stopped. Looked at a villa. Bang. A bullet came. Lin Xian had moved his body away, his eyes fixed on the roof of the villa, looking at the sniper. Thank you, you are such a good person. Lin Xian smiled happily and ran straight to the villa. Originally, he thought he would have to look for a long time. Who knew that the other party would expose himself? Is it necessary to thank the sniper? The sniper on the roof of the villa was pale at this time, and his pupils shrank slightly. The body was shaking uncontrollably. His sniper scope was completely unable to follow Lin Xian's movement speed. The scary thing is that Lin Xian's body changes the direction of movement every 0.5 seconds. He can also make 2 fake moves. And whether it is a change of direction or a fake move, it is done in a sprint. Is this something a human can do? Of course, what's even more terrifying is that this person is actually running on all 4s. Like a cheetah. Seeing such a scene, you really won't be scared? Bang, a gunfire spurted out of Lin Xian's body. The skull of the sniper on the roof of the villa was opened. Lin Xian also stood at the door of the villa, smiling and muttering. A real man keeps his word. I'm coming to hum you. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 330. Bang. The 2 large iron doors of the villa were kicked open. Chug tug tug. Bang bang bang. Da da da. Gunfire exploded, and countless bullets were fired at the door like a violent storm. The moment he kicked open the door, Lin Xian was already 3 meters away. Ejected into the air and jumped onto the courtyard wall. Saw some guards hiding behind bunkers firing at the gate. Bang, 5 shots per second. 5 guards were headshot on the spot. Bang, 3 shots. The last 3 guards in the compound were killed. After killing 8 people in 2 seconds, Lin Xian jumped into the yard and ran away. Boom, a window of the villa was opened. People are in the air. Bang, 4 shots per second. 4 guards in the villa lobby were shot in the head. Lin Xian dodged instantly. Da da da. A dense rain of bullets poured down from the 2nd floor of the villa, but it could not keep up with Lin Xian's movement speed. Bang, 2 shots. 2 guards holding microguns on the 2nd floor were shot in the door. Call. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief and replaced the magazine. In the dead silence, he walked towards the second floor. Arriving on the second floor, standing outside the door of a room. Bang, the punch punched through the door panel and grabbed a person's neck. With a bang, the person was snatched out of the house and the door panel was broken. He casually crushed the opponent's neck and threw it aside like trash. Entering the luxurious bedroom, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Arriving at his destination today, he saw an old man. Wang Chui Yuan. However, the old man was sitting in the safe house at this time, looking at him coldly. Inside the glass wall, a flash of pity and ridicule flashed in his old eyes. Lin Xian had seen this look before. When he was in Zibei, an old guy was also standing in the safe house, looking at him like this. Lin Xian smiled happily. Just like he said it himself. I just like your unruly look. When the time comes to slap you in the face, it will be even more powerful. It's not in vain that I have traveled thousands of miles to hum you. Smile as much as you can. Wang Chui Yuan's expression was still so mocking and contemptuous, otherwise you won't be able to laugh anymore. Yeah. Lin Xian walked to the glass wall of the safe house with a smile and took out something from his pocket. Rifle grenade. At the same time, he also pulled a chair over and pressed it against the glass wall. Place the grenade on the back of the chair. The warhead was aimed squarely at the glass wall. Lin Xian was prepared when he met the double in another villa and the safe house. I have to say that these high-ranking people are not only afraid of death, but also very annoying. For your own safety, develop these safe houses. Almost everyone has one and it has become a must-have. Even more annoying. Most of the bulletproof glass and bulletproof glass walls in the world today come from the Dragon Kingdom. Are you angry? Seeing the grenade, Wang Chui Yuan narrowed his eyes and a trace of ridicule appeared on the corners of his lips. Someone told him. Not to mention bullets, not even rockets can blow up the safe house. Absolutely safe. As long as the people from John Bull country arrive, he will be safe, huh? Lin Xian, who was looking outside, quickly backed away and raised his pistol. Bang, boom. The grenade ejected from the shell and hit the glass wall, causing a horrific explosion. A white chip the size of a wash basin was blown out of the thick bulletproof glass wall. But it only damaged the surface, and there were no signs of breakage. Wang Chui Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. However, this breath was stuck in his throat the next moment. Because he saw Lin Xian coming again, he found another chair. He took out another grenade and placed it on it. A few seconds later. Boom, an explosion occurred, and glass powder flew everywhere. The crater on the glass wall was larger, but the glass wall was still not broken. Wang Chui Yuan was no longer calm and stared at the glass wall that had been blown out by nearly a third. He discovered a truth. Maybe, the safe house can block rockets. You can block 1, 2, 3, but can you block it permanently? When Lin Xian took out the third grenade, Wang Chui Yuan felt strong uneasiness in his heart. Boom, the explosion roared. Cracks appeared on the glass wall. Those white cracks were scattered like spider webs. Lin Xian walked over with steps. When I walked to the glass wall and looked at the cracks, I smiled. Raise your hand and pull back, like pulling up a big bow. The power accumulated in the body completely exploded at this moment. Act on the arms and fists and swing out. Bang. The ground seemed to tremble with Lin Xian's punch. Boom. The glass wall exploded. Pieces of glass are stuck together with layers of glue, like broken ice cubes falling in the air. Lin Xian slowly retracted his fist, walked on the glass, and stood in front of the pale Wang Chui Yuan. Are you going to show off again and let me see? Lin Xian looked at the old man in front of him. Wang Chui Yuan's pale old face was full of fear, and his trembling hands could not hide the panic and uneasiness in his heart. But after all, he is a man who has seen too many storms. Wang Chuiyuan quickly shouted, "You can't kill me, otherwise you won't be able to escape from John Bull country." Snapped. A slap hit him on the face. He was whipped into the air and fell to the ground. Bang, 4 shots per second. Wang Chuiyuan's limbs were broken. Wailed out and rolled all over the ground. Lin Xian looked at him as if he were a dog. "No, don't kill me. I'll give you as much money as you want." Wang Chuiyuan screamed miserably and shouted to Lin Xian, "Let me go." "Let you go?" Lin Xian asked with a smile, "Then tell me, what were the laboratories studying more than 10 years ago?" "A special human protein hormone that can improve human body functions, strengthen functions, and regulate the metabolism of various tissue cells." Wang Chuiyuan screamed in reply. "Immortality?" Lin Xian continued to ask. Wang Chuiyuan was instantly stuck. Lin Xian got the answer, "It turns out that rich people can also cheat." "Are you trying to cheat the queen?" "I don't. It does prolong life." Wang Chuiyuan yelled. "Is this the purpose of your experiment?" Lin Xian's tone was cold. "There are many things that can make people live longer, why should we start with the same kind of people?" Wang Chuiyuan was speechless. Lin Xian turned around and saw a set of clothes on the coffee table. That was the traditional dress of the John Bull aristocracy, an earl suit. "Count," Lin Xian mocked, "in exchange for using human life to make medicine formula." Wang Chuiyuan still didn't speak. "Experiments, murder, prescriptions, treason, count." Lin Xian looked at the old man in front of him who was in pain. "Is this what you want?" "No, don't kill me, please." Seeing Lin Xian raise his pistol, Wang Chuiyuan was so frightened that he peed and urinated, his whole body was trembling, and he begged hoarsely. Boom! The bullet penetrated Wang Chuiyuan's head. Lin Xian looked at the old man who was still twitching, watching as he slowly stopped breathing and his body became motionless. Staring with glassy eyes, he looked dead. "You act like your mother is hummed."